Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 10 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're knowing where you're going with your ultimate GPS tracker project. What I will need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee. Pour it over ice. No sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And besides your coffee, I will also need you to get out your GPS tracker project. This is kind of where we left it off last week. We have the Raspberry Pi Pico W connected to the Adafruit Ultimate GPS connected to a nice SSD1306 OLED. And then what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment that I gave you last week. But I must first ask, how many of you were successful? If you were successful, leave a comment down below. I am legend. Double chest pump. And if you were not successful, leave a comment. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Now, hopefully most of you guys were able to do it because really it's a straightforward extension of what we've been doing in the past. And what we wanted to add was we wanted to add more information to our project because we've got 4 NMEA sentences and we're only using a couple of things. And so what I wanted you to do today was to add the time, because the time that your GPS reports is actually from an atomic clock running the GPS satellites. And so that's like going to be the most accurate time that you can get. And so we might as well use it. And we did mention last week that it does take a few milliseconds for the signal to get from space down to your GPS. So you'll have a little milliseconds latency, but these are going to be probably about the most accurate measurements of time that you're going to have in your house is going to be coming off of the GPS. And I just noticed that that is not perfectly square. We must make this perfectly square. Like that. And like that. There. We'll call that good enough. Okay. So what your assignment was to display on the OLED and print out the time that you get from the GPS. Now, a couple of things there that I should say. I guess for extra credit, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put the time and the date. So I'm going to get the date from the GPS as well, so we can have the time and the date that is constantly updated from the GPS. Now, hopefully you guys were successful. There were a few gotchas along the way. And one of the gotchas is that the time reported by the GPS is UTC, like Universal Coordinated Time, Universal Time Coordinated or something like that. And you need to convert that to local time. And, you know, at first glance, you just got to find where you are and then how you do the modification to the UTC to get to your local time. But then everything besides that is just kind of parsing those NMEA sentences. Does that sound good? I hope it does. So let's come over here to the code view and let's see if we can jump in and get started. What I want you to do is I want you to start where we left off last week. So we will need you to go to the most excellent www.toptechboy.com. I need you to use this happy little search tool here and search on something like Raspberry Pi Pico GPS tracker with OLED display. You'll come here. This is our schematic for you drive-by shooters that are just dropping into this particular lesson. This is the circuit that we're working on. And then this is the code that we ended up with last week. And so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to snag that. We're going to come over here and I'm going to paste it. And just to make sure that the world is in proper order and that we can copy and paste, I'm going to run it and not found no module machine. What is that? Ah, that one scared me. I had not connected to the Pico. So I got to do the little connection. Now let's run it. And there is the junk we printed out. And it says line 10465 parse GPS. Guys, I think I've seen this once or twice. And so This means that I am trying to read a fix before the program has actually populated all of those NMEA sentences in the NMEA main. And so this is running quicker than what this up here is on the other core, where it should be reading the, it should be constantly reading those NMEA sentences. I jumped into it before that it had a chance to start. So here I say time sleep 2. I think we ought to go ahead and make that time sleep 3. I am so excited. I hear a helicopter outside. Can you guys hear that? I don't know. I'm like a little kid. I still get excited when I see a helicopter, and I get excited when I see a fire truck. I'm sorry. Okay. But let's get back to our code now. And what we're going to do is I gave it more time to get, everything populated, and let's see if that will help. Okay, here we have got the reboot. Now I think I probably stopped without killing that thread. So we're just kind of going all kinds of ways downhill here. Okay. So let's see if we can stop it. Stop it. I think I'm probably going to have to unplug it and plug it back in. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to unplug it, plug it back in, and then we are going to come over here and stop. Okay. Going to connect to it again, just make sure everything is a clean start. Now let's see if we can run reboot, thread running. There is that NMEA sentences, and boom, it's happy. It just needs a little more time there so that everything gets populated before you try to parse anything. Okay, and so that looks pretty good now. That looks pretty good now. And so let's go ahead and Control C out of that. And I guess I should also show over here. Let me run it again. We're getting the OLED is working. Okay, the OLED is working, and that looks good. One of the challenges that I've got here is that as far as the strategy, I'm using up all the lines. Like, I can't tell if you can tell on the screen here, but I'm using all of the available space on the OLED. So if we're going to add something, I'm going to have to take my nifty title off, my Ultimate GPS title. I'm going to have to take that off because we don't have any room for the time and the date. Okay, now what I hope you see is if we're going to add parameters, we don't want to change our program structure. So really I need to come up here, and where I'm doing lat, lond, heading, fix, sats, knots, okay, I'm going to add what? Time, like that. And the time, I'm going to make a string of 00, 00, 00, 00. So I'm populating the dictionary here. So if we happen to look at it before the info is in there, we won't crash the program. And then date is going to be, I'm going to put 00 for month, day, and then year. Notice I'm using 4 digits for year. Were you guys around for the whole Y2K thing where we were using 2 digits for the year? Then we got to 1999 and then the whole Y2K thing. I don't want a repeat of that for those of you who are around for the rollover to 3000. So I always use 4-digit dates. So I digress. So that's all set up. That's good. Now, where we're going to be doing the real work is in what? Parse the GPS, because we're already reading in all the NMEA sentences. So now we just need to come down and we need to parse them, right? And so we're going to come down to parse GPS. I'm having to do a tiny amount of Windows management here. Okay, so now this is, once we have a fix, we come into here and we're doing the lat, we're doing the lon, we're doing the heading, we're doing the knots, we're doing the satellites. Well, what do we want to do after all of that? What we want to do is we want to do the time. Okay, so now what I'm going to say is I'm just going to say UTC date is equal to, and then I'm going to borrow this up here. Okay, I'm going to borrow this up here because most of it is the same. Okay, like that. And this is taking that local dictionary that we created. I am looking at the GPGGA sentence. I'm splitting it on the comma, and then I am taking the 7th element. I'm taking the 7th element. Well, you say, well, wait a minute. The 7th element up here is knots. No, knots is getting the GPRMC sentence. This is the GPGGA sentence. But thank you for asking. Now I'm going to clear this. I'm going to go ahead and stop the program that's running. And let's run it again and then stop it. There's that problem. Oh, no, that one. I didn't let it stop. I didn't let it cleanly terminate. Let's see if I can resolve this. Okay, let's try it now. 25. Oh, okay, yeah. That is a real error, my friends. That is a real error because I didn't put my commas in. And you don't have to put a comma on the last one. All right, that scared me. Okay, now that is my... Okay, that was kind of an ugly NMEA sentence, wasn't it? Let's see if we can do that again. Okay, that's good. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to show you what I said it was the 7th element. Let's just look and see if that makes sense. Okay, so UTC, I'm doing date first. All right, I am doing date first. No, let me just start. I'm going to do time and date. UTC time is going to be equal to, and then I'm going to paste that whole thing again. I'm going to paste this whole. Now I'm really confused. Sats is 7. Okay. Let me just start over here. Okay, I'm sorry that I got you guys confused. I'm just trying to get normalized. So we've done sats. That's good. The next thing I'm going to do is UTC time. And now I'm going to paste. I'm going to paste this, and then I'm going to clean it up. Okay, so I'm going to get this, copy, and I'm going to paste it. And then what is UTC time? That is GPGGA in the first position. So let's make sure of that. So I come in here and I'm looking for a GPGGA. Okay, I'm looking for it in this junk sentence here. Let's try it again. I'm having trouble getting a good junk sentence. Okay, there it is. So let's look at this GPGGA. All right, this is on UTC time. We're looking at that GPGGA sentence. And in that sentence, the 0th position has GPGGA. And then the first position has time in UTC. Okay, and so what I want is I want this one. Well, that is the sentence GPGGA split at the comma and then that first element. And so that will give me this number, which is kind of a raw number that we are going to have to work with. Now I'm going to do UTC time, and that's going to be equal to, and then I will paste that in again. Copy and paste. And now this one, I'm sorry, is going to be UTC date. All right. And so the UTC date, I didn't really talk about. So you guys would have had to go in and look at this. But if you look, and let me get completely out of your way. If you look here, I'm going to have to get way out of your way. If you look at this GPRMC sentence and you come all the way down, what do I see? 050625. Well, that sounds a lot like the 5th day of June of 2025. Okay, the 5th day of June of 2025. So we know that is the GPRMC sentence, right? So what is this going to have to be? This is going to have to be GPRMC, like that. In which position? The 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is the 9th position, like that. Okay, so that should give me, I hate being a munchkin, that should give me now the raw time and the raw date. All right, that'll give me the raw time and the raw date. But now I've got to start processing it. And I think I want to process it first. I want to process the date first. All right. And then I'm going to start like year, month, day, hour, minute, second. So I'm going to try to kind of go methodically in order. So my year would be equal to, UTC date 4. From the 4th position to the end. Now let's think about that. UTC date is what? UTC date is just this. I'm going to have to get out of your way. Yeah, you can see it. UTC date is this 050625. So then what is the year? The year is from the 0, 1, or this is I guess I'm very confused here. 1, 2. Okay, I see. This is the 0th position, the 1 position, the 2 position, the 3 position, and then the 4th position. So from the 4th position to the end will give me my year. But why do I not like that? The reason I don't like that is that's going to give me a 25, and what I want is I want the date with the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say take the string 20 and concatenate that with UTC date 4 to the end, and that should give me 2025. Okay, now my month, you guys tell me what that is. That would be UTC date. Okay, and where is the date? Well, this is 0, 1. It goes from 2 up to 4, but not including 4, which would be 2 and 3. So we do that with 2 and 4, like that. All right, now what do I want? My day is equal to UTC date. And what do we want? We want to go from the 0th position to the 2nd position, not including the 2nd position, so that would be 0, 5. All right, so now I have all of those. And let's just try here real quick, print. This is going to be raw and ugly, but my year, my month, my day. And what do I want? I just want to get the little errors out as we go. So let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. UTC date. Okay, you see, I told you I would have errors here. Date. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, let's see what happens. What we have here is 2025, the 6th month, and the 5th day. Boom. Okay, so that's really raw, but we've got that part working. All right, and now let's go in, and what do I want to do next? I want to do my hours. Okay, and that's going to be equal to, this is what you got to think. Like if you think you want to do like 115 or 1:15 p.m. You see, if we do 1:15, then we've got to tell it is it p.m. or a.m., and we get into the whole p.m. a.m. thing. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the 24-hour clock, all right, because that way we don't have to figure out the p.m. and the a.m. and all that sort of stuff. And so we're just going to use the 24-hour clock, all right? So midnight is 0 hours, and 1 minute after midnight is 0 hours, 1 minute, okay, and then we go up to 23 hours and 59 minutes right before noon, okay? So now what I'm going to say is my hours would be the integer value, because I want to make this numbers of UTC time of 0, 2, okay, like that. So that is going to be, remember that our UTC time was the GPGGA sentence, and it was the first element of it, okay? And so the time in hours that I want is this 05, but that 05 right now would be a string, so I want to make it an integer, right? Now what do I have to do? I have to add to it the correction for UTC correct, like that, okay? And where you are on the earth will say what your correction is. I can't tell you because I don't know where you are, but for me it is 3 hours. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to start by saying UTC correct is equal to 3. So I need to add 3 hours to UTC to get the correct time for me. All right, and so that should give me the correct time for where I am. You will have to deal with this for where you are, okay? But this is how you do it. Now, what is the problem? Now, my hours, this is an integer, and this is an integer, so now this is all right, but what am I doing? I'm saving all these things as strings. So once I've got the math done, I need to turn that back to a string, if that makes sense. All right, now what am I going to do? You guessed it, I'm going to do my min, and for minutes, that's going to be UTC time, and that is going to be from the second position up to, but not including up to, but not including the fourth position, like that. And then my seconds is going to be equal to UTC time, and it's going to be from the fourth position up to, but not including the sixth position, like that. Now, why didn't I go to the end? Because I don't want the decimal seconds. I don't want to go like 0.0367 decimal seconds. I'm just going to go to the nearest second. So that's why I go up to the 6. Okay, now that is all very good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build those. We're going to build those. My time is going to be the whole thing, and that's going to be my hours. And then I'm going to concatenate that with a colon, and then I'm going to concatenate that with my min, and then I'm going to concatenate that with a colon, and I'm going to concatenate that with my second. Okay, now that's my time, all right, and now my date is going to be equal to my month plus concatenate, and I'm going to do the slash as the delimiter, and then plus my day, and then plus the delimiter, and then plus my year. And that my year should be right. So let's go ahead and just try this. Let's say print my time, comma, my date, like that, okay? Okay, let's see what happened. All right, so we're going to come up here, and it says that it is, where did that go? 8:53:14, boom. I look at my computer clock, it is 8:53:14 on the nose, and it is 6/5/2025. And I used the wrong delimiter there. How did that happen? There, I'll fix that. We'll pretend that didn't happen. That was just between you and me. Okay, so now I have that, and that is good. Now, if you guys did it like that, and you're proud of yourself, and you're having yourself a congratulatory coffee, what grade would you get for the work that I just did? The grade that you would get would be a big fat F, because you're not thinking of all the different things that you have to think about. Okay, and what is one thing that you have to think about? When I did this UT correction, if I was at 21 hours, like let me show you. Okay, let me show you. Let's come up here and we get the UTC date, right? We get that UTC date and that UTC time. Well, I'm just going to put in a UTC time. The UTC time is going to be equal to 21 hours and 34 minutes and 45 seconds, 0.000. Certainly your GPS would read this. This is one of the things that you would get on the GPS. That is 21 hours, right? 34 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, now let's run that. Let's run that. Okay, and now let me Control C. And what problem do we have? The problem that we have is now this is giving 24 hours, and there's no such thing as 24 hours. You end at 23 hours. Let me do it again to make it more obvious, okay? Because I want to make it more obvious. Where was that? There it is, okay. What if I made it 22 hours, which would be like 10:34. Okay, that would be like 10:34 would be the time. But instead of showing me that, what we've got is we've got a time of 25 hours. But you see, the 24-hour clock doesn't go to 25 hours. It goes to 23 hours and 59 minutes and 59 seconds, and then it goes to 000000, which is going to be midnight. Okay, so that is a problem. It went to 25 hours. Now, what is the other problem? At this point, at 25 hours, that is like 1:34 in the morning, right? That's like 1:34 in the morning or 2:34 in the morning. Okay, and then what is the problem? That's the next day. So that would actually be the 6th. Okay, that would actually be the 6th. So we've got to do a little work here. Okay, we've got to do a little work here before we start building those other things. And when is my problem? If my hours, okay, if my hours and my hours is a string. So I got to say if int of my hours is greater than or equal to 24, I have overrun the clock by adding the 3. And then in that case, what do I want to do? My hours is going to be equal to the string of the integer of my hours minus 24. Now that's probably confusing, but let's start on the inside. My hours is a string. If I want to add a number to it, I have to make it an int. Then once I have it as an int, I can subtract the 24. So my 25 hours would go back and subtract 24, and I would have 2 hours, right? If that makes sense, right? 22 went to 25, and then I subtract 24 from 25, and then I get back to 1, okay? Hopefully that makes sense what I just said. So now I have my hours rolling over when the addition of the correction goes across the midnight mark. That was a lot that I just said, and I hope it makes sense. Now, this is the other problem. If the length of my hours, if the length of my hours is less than 2, okay? Because what is the problem? On my hours, if that is an int and that is 25, and 25 minus 24 is the number what? 1. And then if I make a string out of the number 1, I get the string 1. But what do we want? We've got to keep place of those 2 digits. So what do I need? I need a 0, 1. So if the length of my hours is less than 2, what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that when we did that integer conversion, we dropped that leading 0, and now we need to put it back in. So my hours would be equal to, we're going to put our 0 back in and then concatenate that with my hours. And now the hour will be, instead of 1, it'll be 0, 1, and then all of our formatting and all of our nomenclatures will be the same from here on out, okay? And now that is my hours, but what's the other problem? My day. So if we roll past midnight because my hours is greater than 24, then also what we need to do is my day needs to be equal to the string value of the integer value of my day. And what did the day do? It went to the next day when you went over midnight. So it's going to correct that calendar. My day is a string. If we want to add something to it, we make it an int. We add 1 day because we cross midnight. Now we take the string of that whole thing, and that should work. Okay. Now the same problem though, if the length of my day is less than 2, all right, so when would this happen? Like today, we are what? The 5th of June. Well, when you convert that 05 to a string, it's a 5. You add 1, you get a 6. And then you convert it to a string, you have a 6. You don't have that 06, which we're trying to be very mindful of 2 digits / 2 digits / 4 digits. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So if the length of my day is less than 2, what do we want to do? My day is going to be equal to, we're going to put a 0 on it, plus my day. All right. Now, we come down and we get my time and we have got my day. That should be right. And so now let's run this thing, and we're still using our fake time here. We need to be sure and take that out, but let's use our fake time and see what happens. Okay, let's see. Okay, so 22 hours plus 3 for the correction is 25, and 25 minus 24 is 1:34:45 in the morning, and it is 6/6/2025, and so we incremented the calendar to the next day as well. Very, very good. Okay, now a couple of things we got to do here that we got to remind ourselves after all of that nonsense. Okay, after all of that nonsense, we need to go out of that if statement. Okay, and we're right here, and now we got to remember we got to update our dictionary. So GPS data of time is going to be equal to what? My time, and that's a string, and that's what it wants. And now GPS data of what? Date is going to be equal to my date, like that. Okay, so that should be good. Now what we need to come down here is we need to come down here and work on our update. First of all, we need to print, and I got to make sure I don't want to print anything up here now. I don't want to print anything up here, but down in our main program, in this main loop, as we print all of this stuff, what we probably want to start with is, I think I would print the date even if we don't have a fix. And so I think that I will put it up here. Okay, I think I will put it up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a print. And then what am I going to print? GPS data. And what do you think that we should print the time first? I think we should print the time first. Time like that. And then GPS data. And then I'm going to print the date like that. Close that. Close the print. So let's see if that updates our report down here. And I think I'm going to put this report title up at the top as well, because really the report could be that you don't have a fix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here, and then it will always print the ultimate tracker report. It will print the time and the date. But if you don't have a fix yet, you're not going to necessarily have the time yet. So that was a great idea. But I remember now that if you don't have a fix yet, you might not yet have the time from the satellite. So we got a little bit too fancy there. So we're going to put that in. Let's run it and see what happens. That is interesting. In line 104, 128, 104, GPS data of time. Well, now that has me perplexed. GPS data, my time, my date. So let's look up here. We updated this with time and date. That's good. So it doesn't recognize it down there. That's time, that's date. I've got the comma, That's all good. And it likes all the other ones. You guys tell me what I did wrong. That was a silly, terrible mistake. I hadn't created my time and my date yet. Okay, put it in the wrong spots. Okay, that will be fine. All right, that will be fine now. Okay, now let's try to run it. Rebooting. Okay, we probably had left the thread running. So we've got this whole big mess now. We are going to have to unplug and plug back in. Okay, we will connect and we will run. Okay, now let's look at this. Okay, so what we have is Ultimate GPS Tracker Report 134.45. That's good. 6/6/2025. Lat, long, knots, and heading and stats. Okay, that all looks really good. But I'm going to run that again because I am curious why that heading is 0. Because, you know, that is usually like a random number. Okay, yeah, so that's a random number. And I am happy now. I guess it just randomly happened to be 0. But I was worried that it hadn't updated. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to display OLED. And what we're going to do is we can no longer afford this. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to display text of GPS, of this GPS. This is already a string, so GPS. I just want to make sure, yep, this is already a string. So GPS data of what? Of the, I'm going to do the date first, okay, of the date, okay, and then what do I want? I want from 0 through 5, but not including 5. So it would be 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then that should get it. And then you'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. Plus the string, or I mean, I'm putting a space in there. Okay, and now concatenate that with GPS data of time. Make sure you guys can see that like that, and then close that. And then where do I want that? I want that to be at the 0, 0, like that. Okay, so let's take a look at this and let's think about it before we run it. And so this is what is going to confuse you. Why did I go 0 to 5 when I made such a big deal of wanting to include 2025? Okay, why did I do this? Well, in fact, I think this might not be right. 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think what I'm doing is I'm just not even reporting the year because it doesn't fit on the OLED. Okay, so now let's take a look over here and let's see how many things we messed up. Okay, and there it is. Okay, look at this. It's 6/6, June 6 at 1:34:45, lat, lon, speed, heading, and sats. Okay, all right, man, we have this working. Somebody tell me what my problem is. Somebody tell me what my problem is. What is my error? What is my error? This would be a kind of a nasty error too. Do you notice how my seconds here are not updating? 1:34:45. Why are my seconds not updating? Okay, and also you can see here on the screen I'm going all the way across, and so I really wouldn't even have room for a /25 for the year 25. So it's just like with the room I have, that's all that I can get on the screen. But if we come back over here, what did we forget? We forgot this fake UTC time, and that's why nothing was changing. All right, that's why nothing was changing. So let's Control C so that we exit cleanly, turn our thread off, and now let's come in and do this. Okay, and now we're gonna zoom in here. And now what you see is, darn it, that thing isn't updating. I know why it's not updating. I think we had a huge long delay in this one perhaps down here. Yeah, so let's go and you're not seeing that, are you? You see we were running this every 10 seconds. Let's run it every second. Okay, like that. And then I'll do a Control C, and then I will come back over here and I will run this, okay? And then it is going to kick off, and we got 16, 17, 18. You see, this thing is updating now. All right, guys, this is pretty cool. Don't you think this is pretty cool now? All right, so let me see if I can give you guys a homework assignment, okay? And I want you to see, I'm not going to give you a whole lot of hints here. I'm going to run this, and then I'm going to Control C it. Okay, I am not going to give you a whole bunch of hints here, but there is some other useful data that you can get in these NMEA sentences. All right, and what it is you can get altitude or your elevation, and the elevation is not reported above the ground. The elevation is reported above sea level. Okay. So when you just look at it, it should read from the GPS your ground elevation as compared to sea level, if that makes sense, okay? And then if you go up in an airplane, it should give you a higher number. What I will say is you do not get as accurate of a number vertically as you do longitudinally, right? When I give you the longitude and latitude from this, it's accurate to within just a few meters. But when you're doing elevation, the trigonometry is not working in your favor, and it's much harder to get an accurate number. And so that number might be accurate more like to the, tens of meters or 100 meters, or somewhere like in that range. You might have a certain amount of error in that, but nonetheless, that is still a very useful number. Now, what problem do we have is I'm telling you to go in and find your elevation. What the problem is that our display is already completely filled up. Okay, our display is completely already filled up, and this isn't running. I was showing you, but the display is filled up. And so what I want you guys to do for your homework is I want you to go in and, when we print out that junk, it gives you all those NMEA sentences. What do you see that I do? I sit there and I look in those NMEA sentences and I find something useful. I want you to look through those and see if you can find the elevation. And then I want you to get the elevation in the dictionary like what I've been doing. So it's just like what I've been doing, now you do by yourself. You find the elevation, you get that elevation in your dictionary, and then you put the elevation on your report as it prints out, and then you put it on the screen. Okay, put it on the screen, we don't have room. Yes, so that's what I'm going to say also as part of your assignment. I have 2 buttons here. You just need one button to scroll through the screens, but you could press the button and you could go to the next screen, and then you could press the button and you could go back. And so maybe you would try to put like data on one screen and then like data on the other screen. So you got to figure out, we can't fit everything on one screen. What do you want on the first screen and what do you want on the second screen? Okay, and then before this project is over, you're going to need 2 buttons. Okay, and so what I want you to see is it's good if we use the same pins. And so this is pin 12, this is GPIO pin 12, this is GPIO pin 13 that this one goes to. So 12 and 13, go ahead and hook that up so as the project moves forward, we'll both have 2 buttons. But what I want now is I want you to add elevation, and I want you to switch between screens using this button. Okay, I hope you guys are having as much fun taking this class as I am making it. I am really, really enjoying this project. I hope you guys are having fun with it too. I know most classes on this, they just have you, wire it up like they have it, download the library, download the code, and then run off and do it. But I really want you guys to understand how this stuff works. And so I know the way I do things is not suited for everyone, but for those of you who really want to understand and really know how the whole thing works, I hope you'll enjoy the way I'm kind of taking you through this methodically. Would appreciate some comments with some feedback on that. Okay, it's at this point that I always give a shout out to you guys who are standing with me on Patreon. It is the Patreon support that allows me to continue to produce quality content week after week after week. So big thank you to you guys. Also, you can help this video if you leave a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. That will help me with the old YouTube juice. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. When you do, make sure you ring that bell so you'll get notification when future lessons drop. And most importantly, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people who are knowing where they're going and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.